Today we have a special one. Sawyer Merritt, the face of Tesla retail investing on X, is joining us. Going to have a great discussion here, diving into a little bit about your background, your investing style, and really how this account has grown to quite nearly 1 million followers. And then really go through all the pieces that are happening across most industries lately, including the $1 trillion pay package, new potential vehicles, Robotaxi rollout, Optimus, and so much more. There's a lot to discuss, and it's an exciting time in the market. Sawyer, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back on the GigaCast channel.
GigaCast channel, the Wolf channel, Sawyer Merritt show, all these good things. That is a good ring to it, the Sawyer Merritt show. I like that. It's got to start that one up. All right, let's talk about it a little bit. So your account has grown spectacularly. For those who haven't checked it out, it is just Sawyer's name. You can go and look at the @ He has 991,000 followers at this point, nearly 992,000. So you'll probably hit 1 million this month, I would guess. And the account is all the way back, started in 2011. But I believe that you got a lot more active on that in the last several years. So talk to us a little bit about the journey of this account and your growth on social media and how it got to where it is today.
Yeah, I probably started following Tesla 10-ish years ago. I first heard about them maybe 2014. And I bought a few shares in 2015. I think it was the fall of 2015. So that's when I sort of started on Twitter at the time to sort of connect with some other people, read about Tesla more. I wasn't that active in actually tweeting. I think my first ever Tesla related tweet was on the Model 3 launch on March 31st of 2016. So if people can go back and say, I had a few tweets about the Model 3 launch, but for the most part, I was still relatively quiet. And it wasn't until I think it was mid 2020 where I felt like at that point I was all in. I'd gone all in Tesla stock in 2018 because I'd sold my Netflix, my Apple stock, and moved it all into Tesla. That was during the sort of the production hell Model 3 ramp timeline. And so many people were skeptical about the future of the company. But I really believed in not only Elon's leadership, but the incredible mission and the product was just really good. So I was like, I feel like this company is going to make it. So I put the bet in and it did well, but I didn't really start getting super active on a daily basis really until mid 2020. And I felt like, there were a lot of EV blogs at the time that were covering electric vehicles, the whole industry really well. But I felt like there wasn't a dedicated minute-to-minute sort of news source directly on Twitter at the time. And I felt like I could be that. And I think I only had like 400 followers at the time. And so I basically just started doing that. And, with a lot of EV blogs, they're great, but there's also like a lot of fluff in between that you don't necessarily want to read. So sort of what I like to do, and sometimes I do like longer form posts, but I try to just keep it simple, short, and to the point with my posts. And it kind of just took off from there. There was obviously no prospects of, making money on Twitter at the time. It kind of just, once Elon bought Twitter, it sort of just became my full-time thing over time. But in the beginning, it was just really about sharing my passion of this company and the sort of the mission with others. And because I wanted people to know all the cool things Tesla was doing. And I felt like not enough people did. So I started doing news.
I've got a few questions to dig in through this. First, so I know you went all in 2018. When did you buy your first share of Tesla?
I think it was like October, November of 2015, I want to say. Yeah.
Nice.
But then I was only like 20-ish at the time, 2021. And my mom, I think I was just like a year into investing. And she was like, I don't know if that's a good stock. So I think I sold the 4 shares. But then I bought them back like a couple of years later once I sort of got better at and more knowledgeable into investing.
And did you have like a full-time job when you were starting this account?
So I was running my company at the time with my twin Birch, which we're not running it anymore, but that's what I was doing most of the time. And then the Twitter was sort of the side thing. Got it.
Do a lot of people know about the twin, you think?
I don't know. I'm open that I have a fraternal twin. But
yeah.
He doesn't have a Twitter account, though.
He runs the big Rivian account.
Yeah.
Rivian Daily. Very cool. Okay, so a couple, I guess, follow-up questions on some of these pieces. So you started creating content, like you said, in bigger form, but everyone starts from somewhere. You had a few hundred followers. What was the kind of like the click moment where it was like, oh, this really has demand for it. This account's really going to grow off this. I should stay consistent with something like this.
It was probably only a couple months into it when Tesla announced their first stock split. and the euphoria with the stock market in general. But certainly the Tesla stock went up. I think it was 83% in 3 weeks, which was like at the time was insane.
Yeah.
And from there, my account just kind of took off, and I was like, okay, this thing has some real legs. I think a lot of people are interested in Tesla and Tesla stock and sort of the whole EV industry. So I figured I'll just do it more full time, and it kind of just went from there.
Got it. Makes sense. And then obviously since then you've kind of expanded out in the amount of content that you're doing. I assume you kind of ramped up over time as it got to this point. Did it really make you mentioned it briefly there, but did it make a big difference once Elon took over and now Tesla and X were a lot more kind of coalesced and then there became creator payments? Was that kind of a big thrusting point for the account?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if I would. I don't think I would be doing this full time at this point if Elon hadn't bought Twitter, actually, because Twitter was never paying people. They were never. There was no creator revenue share program or advertising, and so maybe they would have ended up paying creators. I don't know, but my guess is I would probably be doing something else. But so huge credit to Elon, obviously, because I'm able to do this full time. I think because of him.
And then I know you're still all in on Tesla. What's your strategy when it comes to investing? Is it just like every paycheck you get, you just buy Tesla? Is it a DCA strategy?
My strategy is like no strategy. I just buy and hold. Like I don't like play around with, I played around with covered calls like years ago, but I don't really like to play with options because it's so risky. And so my philosophy is just buy and hold. I don't try to trade it. I don't try to time the market. If I want to buy more stock at some points, I do it and then I just hold. I would say in general, probably dollar cost averaging strategy is the best strategy. Because I think if you're going to try to chase, good luck trying to chase Tesla stock. That thing is all over the place. It can go down 50% in a matter of months, but it can also go up 50% in a matter of weeks. So yeah, DCA is usually what I would recommend.
Do you have any ETFs though, or is it fully just Tesla?
Literally 100% Tesla.
He's all
Tesla
in.
is the only public stock that I own. I own like some other private investments that aren't public, but Tesla's the only public stock that I own.
Do you have any Enduro?
I don't actually. I know a lot of people want that though. I have a SpaceX and a few other little things.
Yeah, that makes sense. What was your first interaction with Elon on the platform?
I think he first replied to me in April of 2022, I want to say, roughly. And kind of just went from there. I think he followed me in the summer or spring of 23, I want to say. And yeah, and it's not like we talk all the time. I've DM'd him a couple times just to thank him for following and then to congratulate him on the Robotaxi launch a few months ago. But most of our interaction is just publicly between our tweets.
Right. I mean, he is pretty much retweeting you on a daily, if not weekly basis. What's that? I just want to like take people inside your mind. So the first man to be worth $500 billion, and the guy who you like have solely said, my entire net worth, I'm just going to buy your stock, is so engaged and active with you. And it's kind of like unique relationship, which maybe he has with a few people in the world where he's doing that. So what's that like? And obviously it does a lot for the account as well.
It's on one hand, it's like part of you gets used to it a little bit, but the other part of you is like, geez, this is like the most wealthy, one of the most powerful and knowledgeable people in the world. And he's engaging with, my content. And it still blows my mind to this day, even though I don't know, he's probably done it like 500 or 1,000 times, whatever it is. It never gets not wild to me, if that makes sense,
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, your stuff is typically all over his timeline, and he uses you as a way. I mean, I literally scroll back 1 hour ago, right? You posted the Ford CEO, Jim Farley. He's already retweeted that. That breaks that up. It gets half a
I think
million views.
important, like I know there are a lot of accounts out there that specifically tailor their tweets to get engagement from Elon. I specifically don't do that. I kind of just like to stick to what I want to post, whether that be positive or negative. And if Elon engages with it, fine. If he doesn't, that's also fine. He'll go weeks without engaging with something of mine, and then he'll go like one day with like 6 retweets. I don't try to. You'll go nuts if you try to like tailor your post to try to get an Elon engagement. Nor do I want to.
How many times has he unfollowed and refollowed?
He unfollowed for a 36-hour period last year. I think that was just a misunderstanding, and then he
From the
refollowed.
information. Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan?
I wanted to ask. I don't want to dig too deep into it, but the creator revenue share. I feel like that is a little bit of a product of the Elon stuff. I'm sure people kind of always did it. Biggest
Mhm.
account on the platform, getting a retweet from him is a pretty big thing. I do wonder what you think about the creator revenue share. It's helped you create a great income, but it's also maybe made the platform into an interesting place. I'm curious, uh, do you think it's a net positive? And what maybe you think like um, the future of it should be a little bit,
Obviously, I'm a
or if you
big
have any thoughts on it.
yeah. Obviously, I'm a big beneficiary of the program. I'm one of the bigger accounts, but I will say it's not perfect. Like still every 2 weeks, I don't know what I'm going to make. I don't even know what I make per post. I don't know it's sort of a black box. Like that's one thing I don't like about it. The lack of transparency on sort of your analytics and what you're earning because of it. And so you could have I've had killer 2 week periods and where I got half as much as the previous period, despite having 70% more engagement that period. So sometimes it just makes no sense. And so I think X really needs to work on the transparency, allowing people to like know what they're going to make before the actual payout goes out. You don't want to like reveal everything because then people can game the system. But as it stands right now, it's just too difficult for people to figure out what content does well, what content doesn't. Are they getting paid for more for this post or that post? I think in general, it's a net positive for the platform because you want to attract creators to your platform. You don't want everyone to go flock to YouTube or Threads, or I know Threads is paying out a lot of some big creators heavy amounts. And so you got to have some sort of incentive to keep creators on the platform. And I know people sort of romanticize about the days when it was just sort of tech bros and on like in 2019, no one was getting paid. People were just posting for the love of it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a business and you want to attract creators to the platform, and that helps grow the platform as a whole. So yeah, it's not a perfect program, but I think it'll get better over time.
I've got one more question, and it's around the subscription side of things and what your approach is to that.
Yeah, I struggle with subscriptions because I have a decent amount of subscribers, but I struggle with like if you have a great piece of information or news, I would love to just be able to share it with just my subscribers. But on the other hand, like I also want to share with like my million followers. You know what I mean? And because I also get ad revenue or creator revenue share from that.
Right.
So I try to find a good balance between sharing what I can with subscribers and then doing most stuff publicly. But really, I've used subscriptions, at least for me, as a way to support my main feed. Like if you like and appreciate my main feed and my news and the information I provide, then go ahead and you can pay the $4 per month or whatever it is. So that's sort of how I view it. I know a lot of people do a lot of subscriber only content, but that's just not me.
Checks out. Let's talk a little bit more about the bigger Tesla picture here. There's a lot that's been going on lately, and the stock's been looking pretty good. We are having probably a down day today. I think like the whole market's having a slight down day, but we're trading at 434 right now, and the all-time highs are right around 480, and the stock is up 11% on the year after being down at one point 43%, similar to what it was last year. So it made a awesome comeback 2 years in a row here, and things seem to be on track. The sales slowing, but the focus has shifted a little bit. But in the midst of all this, there's been a huge incentive package that's been given to Elon. Maybe you can break down your thoughts on it and for maybe some of the misunderstandings that you see around it. Because I think that there's a lot of people came out, right? Nobody should be a trillionaire, or Elon's just going to get this pay package no matter what, right? Some of these different pieces. So maybe you can walk through what it actually means and why you think it's a good or not good thing for the company long term.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised how well Tesla stock has done in recent months, considering the company's core auto business, the auto business, hasn't been doing all that well. Let's put Q3 aside because obviously they had a record in terms of deliveries, and a lot of that was due to the EV credit expiring.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that the stock is so high, and it has been in recent months, tells you a lot that people are sort of moving on from viewing Tesla as an automaker and viewing it more as, an AI, a tech company, which I think is the right way to look at it, because the future of Tesla is robotics, autonomy, robotaxis. It's not going to be, selling cars directly to consumers per se. At least that's not where most of their revenue will come from. But they still make most of their money from that. So it's still an important part of the business. When it comes to Elon's $1 trillion pay package or performance award package, whatever you want to call it, I hate that it's labeled like that's why I haven't been calling it a $1 trillion package, because it might be worth that if Elon hits all of his targets. He only gets paid if he delivers on the operational milestones and the market cap milestones. Just because if he gets Tesla to a $2 trillion company and the next day it's a $1.9 trillion company, Elon doesn't get anything. He has to hit one operational milestone and keep Tesla, I think, a $2 trillion company for a minimum of 6 months sustained, roughly. So, he has to sustain performance as well. And I think most of the operational milestones are tough to hit. Granted, I think the 20 million vehicle deliveries, that's probably an easier milestone to hit, but the others are pretty difficult, I think. And certainly the EBITDA milestones are upwards of 400 billion is difficult to hit. So the way I view it is this is the best possible. This is a great package for shareholders because it aligns Elon's interests with shareholder interests. And Elon only gets paid if we do really well, shareholders as well. And, I think a lot of people look at, let's say Tim Cook, he's getting 70 something million a year. I think people are like, well, he's the head of a $4 trillion company. Why doesn't Elon just get paid that? This is not that scenario. This is Elon runs 6 companies now, 5 or 6 companies. 3 of them are worth north of $100 billion. And so you really have to come up with a massive pay package to be able to attract him. And he wants 25% voting control. And the only way to do that with a $1.5 trillion company is to offer a massive incentive package that is going to have some dilution, but the overall returns from that package will far outpace and be worth it for shareholders, I think.
The 25% number, is that, I've looked lightly into it. It kind of allows him to not be pushed out. Is that the essence of it?
I think he just wants it so if there's any hostile or activist shareholder that comes in, he can't be sort of overruled or sort of pushed out because of, so let's say a smaller fund were to come in and buy, a few percent of the company or 5 or 10%. I think Vanguard owns 8%. And so I think he wanted enough control where if someone were to propose some crazy proposal or, try to push him out, he would have enough say to be able to push that aside.
Is there any issues with judges on this pay package, or now that they've officially, moved out of Delaware, there's not issues?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, sort of the infamous lawsuit with the Tornado case with Tesla, that there was a shareholder that had 9 shares, and then the sort of predatory law firm that used him as a vehicle to be able to get their own lawyer fees and by suing Tesla. And this happens all the time. It sucks. And so because of that, Tesla wanted to get out of Delaware and stop dealing with the nonsense. And so last year they officially became a Texas-based company. And part of that was that they changed their bylaws. And now you cannot bring forth a derivative action lawsuit unless you own at least 3% of all of the outstanding shares. So I think today that's roughly worth $44 billion. And so there's only 3 shareholders outside of Elon, I think, that own that amount of Tesla stock. And so basically, unless there's another shareholder proposal to rescind that or remove that bylaw change, then there's not going to be any similar lawsuits going forward with this pay package.
Who are the 3 others? I'm curious.
I think it's Vanguard with 120 billion, BlackRock with 90 billion, and State Street, I think, is around 50 billion.
Okay, got it. So major banks, not individuals.
Yeah, but they're not going to sue Tesla.
That doesn't
talking about those class action sort of law firms and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally fair. So it seems like the pay package, things are moving forward there in order. Pretty overwhelming vote, it also seemed. And did you have any, some people kind of had issues with Elon using the airtime of the earnings call to lobby for it versus maybe talking about other things. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I had no issue. Because this pay package vote was so important to the future of the company that I think it made total sense for Elon to sort of talk it up on the earnings call. If you want good earnings going forward, you got to vote for this package. So I viewed it as a good fit.
Talking about personnel at Tesla, there was a lot of shakeup over the last year or two, Karpathy and a couple of others. Have there been new faces that have kind of risen to the top within Tesla? I feel like it's mostly Elon that's focused on.
Tesla is covered so intensely in the media that any little change gets publicized. And when people leave, and they often do so publicly because they announce it on LinkedIn or X or whatever, there are tons of headlines about it. Siddhant, one of the lead Cybertruck engineers, he's leaving Tesla, and there's I think I saw at least 30 articles written about it. You don't see that type of response with a GM person leaving. No. But the fact is, Tesla has had dozens and dozens of executives leave over the year. And, a lot of these people have been at the company for years. And like 1 year at Tesla is kind of like 5 years at another company. Like it is brutal. It is fast paced there. It's really hard work, but it's rewarding. But a lot of these people just eventually just decide to move on for one reason or another, and things are fine. Tesla has a really deep talent bench. I think people publicize who's leaving, but not who actually arrives or who comes into the company. And so, you still have Wes Morrill, who's been at the company for 15 years now, and he's the actual head of the Cybertruck program. And so he's still there. And yeah, they're going to be fine.
Evan, it's kind of like 1 year posting on Twitter. It's 5 years posting on Instagram.
Yeah, literally. It's exhausting, man. Twitter, like writing tweets is not difficult. Obviously, you're just typing some shit in. But staying on top of everything 24/7, I work on Christmas even. Like I'll stay on top of everything 7 days a week. I don't take any days off. I took 5 days off for my wedding earlier this year. But other than that, I don't take any days off. And there are times where like, I even have the phone near me in the shower, which is a little bit psycho because I want to be able to see if any notifications pop up.
Well, I was going to ask you that. So, are you familiar with Adam Schefter?
I am. I know his grind.
Adam Schefter's told some stories. He's told a famous one of he was covering the Broncos at the time. He was in Denver and basically told a story how he like stopped mid-sex to like break a story, go tweet. So
that's
is it
too
like,
much? That's too
yeah,
much.
I'm just saying, like, when do you say like, okay, no, like I'm getting off? Like, what's your sleep schedule like? Like, is it around like when news is going to be? I'm just curious.
I go to bed at like 2 or 3 a.m. I'm a really late night owl, and then I'll wake up like mid morning. I I would say like funerals, intimate moments, stuff like that. That's sort of off limits. I wouldn't disrupt those moments, but I've certainly hopped out of the shower once or twice because of some breaking news.
You got to get. I use it in the shower now.
You gotta bring the phone in the shower.
I was gonna say
easy.
you gotta, yeah. So I have a
know.
little phone holder now, and my phone just sits in the shower and sticks in there, and so Evan can tell you like he'll text me and I'll like jump out of the shower because I like have the phone there just like sitting.
It's a grind, man. Like anyone who's in breaking news understands. Like, ooh, it's brutal sometimes.
But I will say, like, it's that's not the hard part of any of this stuff. It's just constant. It's just kind of, and I'd imagine there's also always like the job security thing isn't really there as well, where it's like I always have to be first, or I always have to be constantly there. What do you
Elon could
kinda
just
see as your
decide
edge
to
in this
stop to
space?
create a revenue share program tomorrow, and then that would be a huge impact to my income. I fully recognize that, and I've always had the mindset of I'm lucky to be doing this full time, and if it's gone tomorrow, that is certainly possible. And then I'll just go find and do something else. I don't view this as some sort of permanent or like very steady thing. It's a weird job.
Would you want to work for Tesla?
I would be open to it. Yeah, I think if it was the right position, then I felt like that I could really help them. But on the other hand, I'm already helping them in a lot of ways. Like the amount of cars I've probably sold for them is in the thousands. They get me essentially for free now. They don't have to pay me anything.
You maxed out your referrals, right?
Yeah, I maxed them out like 2 weeks into this year.
Man,
and so,
tough.
and they obviously don't. Even when I go
referrals.
down, when I went down to a month ago to go look at the new Model 3 and Model Y Standard, they don't pay us to they don't pay for our flights or hotels. Like I'm paying my own way. And so Tesla gets, this stuff for free. So why would they necessarily bring me in house need to pay me?
Next shareholder vote, we lobby for uncapped referrals. That's the bill. We'll get.
They used to do that. That's how people got multiple roadsters, and they shut that down real quick.
Well, is that a bad thing that people are just going to keep referring more people? Like they have to buy a car, don't they?
No, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a great incentive. It did it really well. I mean, that's how I was able to get like 20 grand off of my new Model Y earlier this year. It was just racking up tons of referrals over the last year or so.
And now you have a lifetime of free FSD, or how many?
Well, I bought FSD because I had the launch series, but yeah.
Got it. Okay, so talking about FSD, that's obviously made pretty big leaps and bounds over the last year. I got my first chance to drive using FSD a month or two ago, and it really is like I'm maybe almost even grateful. Like obviously it'd be cool if I tried it years ago, but I'm almost grateful. Like my first experience was like a flawless one.
Good.
Like I got in to the car. honestly, I really don't like driving, and I didn't want to drive. It was a friend's car, and I was in a different city where I've never been. And I just got in. Evan was with me, and I put the address in, and it's like, hold this button for FSD. And I was like, okay. And the car just pulled out of the parking spot and then drove us to where we wanted to go, and then pulled into the parking lot. And like I took over for like 2 seconds to park, but like it could have parked itself as well.
That's
And
good, because a
so,
lot of people that try for the first time and don't have a good experience are just scared and never want to try it again.
so maybe that, I guess I am very grateful then. But for me, it was completely flawless. It drove me back. I had zero issues throughout. I think for me, like I'm also just so excited for it to get to the point where it is truly unsupervised. The only thing that was slightly annoying was like I was trying to change something on the screen where like I think like the seat heater was on, and I don't, Tesla seat heaters, they can crank. And so I was like, all right, get the seat heater off. So I was like trying to figure it out, and it's like beeping at me because I'm not looking at the road.
Yep.
I'm looking at the screen, but I felt so
Yeah.
comfortable
Yeah,
not
the
looking at the
attention
road. I was
monitoring.
like, I don't need to look at the road. So,
The attention monitoring is still too strict. It is annoying, but I think in 12.2 or 12 point, I'm sorry, 14.2 or 14.3, that should be less strict.
how long do you think we are from? Elon always will put an early timeline on it, but I feel like you'll be more realistic. How far off do you think we are from truly unsupervised?
I'm pretty confident saying it'll happen next year. I think what I've seen with version 14 has been really promising in terms of its capabilities. It's still too hesitant and occasional break stabbing, at least on 14.1.4. 14.1.6 is, has rolled out to test employees. So I imagine us early access users will be able to get it soon. But for the first time, I'm able to go from a parking spot to a parking spot at my destination without touching the steering wheel once. Version 13 couldn't do that. And so it sort of remains to be seen how it's going to do in the wintertime. Wintertime is very difficult.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible it could happen next year. Obviously, you need FSD unsupervised to be able to put the Cybercab on the road without a steering wheel. So they're confident that it can happen by the spring of next year. So,
well,
we'll
let's
see.
talk about the steering wheel for a second, and maybe bring in some mental notes from Farzad here, who was tweeting a lot on the timeline about there being a steering wheel in the car, going back and forth. So you want to talk a little bit about what we saw there with them having a steering wheel?
Yeah, Farzad's of the belief that Tesla is going to have to put a steering wheel and pedals in the Cybercab because the regulations won't be caught up enough to be able to, for Tesla to be able to cross the 2,500 unit sort of maximum robotaxi threshold. I think is the number. And so he's like, well, they're going to have a massive amount of production capacity that's just going to be sitting there. And so to be able to fulfill that, they're going to have to put a steering wheel and sell this thing as a normal car. But the problem is this thing was designed to be a driverless robotaxi without a steering wheel and pedals. There's no back window. We'll see about the side mirrors. I think they might require that by law. But there's all these kind of decisions that they made with this vehicle because it's a robotaxi and not a car you just own in your everyday life. There's no frunk, there's no other things. I think the max speed is probably going to be like 85, 90 miles an hour is my guess, because you don't need a robotaxi to go quicker than that. I'm sort of with Omar on this, in that I believe that it's not going to have a steering wheel or pedals at launch, and they're not going to have to do that. I think once certain jurisdictions or certain localities approve this thing and the data is really good, I think it'll just be a snowball effect from there, and other states will be quick to approve it. At least I hope I'm right. If I'm wrong, I don't know what they'll do. But my guess is, and Elon said this last week at the shareholder meeting, he's like, we'll be able to make as many as we can. He doesn't think that the regulatory hurdles will be an issue. And so we'll see what happens, but I don't think it's going to have a steering wheel. That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. And do you feel like there's a lot more likeliness of all this getting passed because the administration, and they go through their, tumultuous events, but it seems like the administration, for the most part, has a good relationship with Elon?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump does at this point. I think they're cool. Obviously Sean Duffy, who's the head of the transportation department, and Elon have gone at it in recent weeks because Sean Duffy was also the head of brief head of NASA. But now Jared Isaacman will take that over.
Oh, is it officially confirmed?
Well, Trump has again selected him, but I think he still has to be officially confirmed by the Senate and whatnot.
Sure.
But I suspect that will happen. I think it'll be okay. I think at the end of the day, people will look at the data and be like, okay, this is this is safe enough, and just roll it out. But you know, you never know what could happen with politics, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, could be interesting. We'll see where that one goes. I want to just dive a little bit deeper into the lineup. So we did see new versions of some vehicles coming out, kind of like a cheaper version that I don't think was too well received by investors. But there's several different versions now. You have the larger Model Y in China. What do you think comes next for this lineup, which now has a pretty wide array of vehicles?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, because I'm on one hand, I'm like, okay, are they going to come out with a refresh Model S and X maybe in the next year or two? But the sales volumes are really low. What does the future of the Cybertruck look like? Because they've only, through Q1 and Q3 of this year, they only sold about 16, 17,000 of those. And, you know, obviously that has 125,000 unit per year installed capacity. So they're well below capacity on that. So if I had to guess what will happen, additions to the lineup will be some sort of cyber SUV that will be able to fill out that excess capacity at Giga Texas for the Cybertruck line. And the Model 3 and the Y will probably stay the same for a little while. They just refreshed the Y this year. The Model 3 was last year. And obviously they're like, the Model Y is still the number one best-selling car in the world. So that'll probably just stay the same.
How many miles have you put on yours?
I think it's like 5,500, 6,000, something like that.
Yeah, you drive more than me. I only drove like 2,000 miles this whole entire past year.
Oh, wow. That's wild. Yes.
I live on an island. You can't drive very far.
Yeah, I know someone who only drives 2,000 miles a year. They bought like a brand new Model Y. I was like, they probably should have kept their old car, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think there are going to be that many additions to the Tesla lineup in the coming years outside of like the Robovan and maybe your Cyber SUV, because once the Cybercab gets going, that's going to serve a lot of people's needs, honestly.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it'll give a lot more people an opportunity to experience being inside of a Tesla. So that I think rolls us into really what's up next, which is Optimus. And that's kind of the product that it seems like Tesla turns to focus on. Optimus, Elon's called it many times, right? It could be the single greatest consumer product in history. They've talked about the cost, potentially getting into people's houses. There's other companies like that Neo 1X or X1 that's started to allow people to pre-order now. I think it's still a very early product, right? It's going to need to be like teleoperated in many ways to learn different tasks inside your house. It is not waterproof as well, so you don't want it going outside. There's all these different pieces. Optimus, they're up to its version 2.5. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so it's continuing to come along. They had them dancing at the recent event. And it seems like this is a huge push now that's happening, which is two kind of things: humanoid robotics and physical AI, right? And kind of merging together. And I asked somebody the other day about why they see Tesla as the one that is so far ahead in this race. And they talked to me about its distribution ultimately. Like Tesla's going to not just have an incredible product, but they're going to have massive distribution, which is funny because they don't market or have really stayed away from marketing for a long time, but they've really built that network. So walk us through a little bit of like how Tesla slowly becomes less of a cars brand, more of this AI and humanoid robotics brand that it seems like they want to become. What year that's really possible? Is this kind of like, is right now, because people can't even get their hands on an Optimus yet. So I don't even want to say it's 2018 now, right? Of like, you could drive a Tesla, but it can't drive itself yet. Where are we at in the stage?
Yeah, embodied AI is going to be huge. I think a lot of people underestimate how difficult it is that's going to be to manufacture these things. Tesla has designed a lot of its Optimus, the actuators and other things that help power it. And a lot of that was designed in-house because a lot of these things didn't exist in the outside world, or at least not outside of China. And so I think a lot of people underestimate Tesla's ability to not only vertically integrate on that aspect, but be able to manufacture their own robots. And they don't have to outsource it at all. And they know how to manufacture well. They have a lot of experience in this in a way that, Figure or, 1X or the Neo robot, they don't have that experience. And Tesla also has the advantage of they have these massive GPU clusters that they can help train to Optimus on to become better in the real world. And they have the ability to capture a lot of real world data and to plug it into that system in a way that their competitors just don't. At least the startups, maybe, the Googles and the Amazons of the world, they could figure it out. But I think we're a few years away from it really being like a household product. I think next year is version 3 will come out, and that's likely going to be just in Tesla factories. Maybe they'll partner with some other companies like they did with the Tesla Semi. They partnered with PepsiCo to do sort of a pilot program. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that with the Optimus robot as well. But I think it'll stick to sort of factories for a while and helpful tasks, and then it'll sort of move out into the real world everyday tasks. Maybe it'll start at like shops, like doing some sort of barista job, and then eventually I think it'll get to a point where it's safe enough, it's good enough to be able to, sell it as a product, a consumer product that people could put in their homes to do laundry, dishes, whatever. But you don't want a scenario where like Optimus accidentally falls over and like crushes a kid or hits the dog. You really want these things to be dialed in. And so I think they're just going to take their time, which they should. I know Elon is super bullish on timelines. He's talking about 1 million unit per year annual capacity at a Fremont factory line, 10 million unit factory line at Texas. But just to play it safe, conservative, I'm still assuming this is a few years away, but I hope I'm pleasantly surprised.
How early of an adopter would you be to Optimus? Is it like they put up a post like, hey, you can pre-order an Optimus, first time ever you're pre-ordering?
If the price is right, yeah. If it's like $100,000, I'm not going to do it. But, if it's like 30, 40-ish, yeah, I'd try it out for sure.
What if they did a subscription model? What do you think of how the Neo robot did it? Because I think they did $20,000 to buy it or $500 a month subscription.
Yeah, that was interesting. On one hand, at first I was like, oh, only $500 a month. But when you actually do the math, you have like after 3+ years, you're already paid more than the 20 grand you could have spent. So it doesn't really seem that worth it. I don't think that bot's going to be very good. I mean, the Wall Street Journal showed a video of it like in a kitchen, and even though it was being teleoperated, it was still performing pretty bad. And so I think they're a ways away from figuring it out, but it's a cool concept. But I do like the subscription model. I think that makes sense for a lot of people. It's kind of like leasing, like a car. Why not just do sort of a similar thing with an Optimus robot? Especially because there's probably going to be, Elon already teased version 4, which is probably going to be a lot better than version 3. So you don't necessarily want to be stuck into an older version. So maybe a leasing or subscription model is a good way to do it.
But do the buy now, pay never.
Yeah.
Evan, you got any thoughts here on Optimus? The robotics?
Ooh, sorry. Yeah, I think the opportunity is obviously endless, and I feel like we're going into this area. Robotics in general, to me, it is just when we're talking. Like one of the big themes that going on is U.S. production. Elon Musk has always kind of been about that. That's always they've had Gigafactory here, but it is a bigger theme, and I think the way we end up doing that, I don't think it's just throwing people at it. I think it's automation and robotics and all that stuff. So I think that's definitely a big part of it. I do wonder what part of this industry ends up coming first, and like where the humanoid robots, if this is a 2026, 7, 8 thing, or if this is a 2035 type of conversation. Honestly, I really think full self-driving cars are here now. Like that is a next couple of years thing. I'm more in the Optimus might be in the decade type camp, but I'm excited to be wrong.
What's wild is like self-driving cars are here and most people have no clue. So if they have no clue about self-driving cars, you better believe they have no clue about humanoid robots. And so I think a lot of people do not understand the opportunity that the humanoid robot industry will have or does have, and the value creation that Tesla could see because of that if Elon executes on his performance targets. Things could get really like if Elon delivers on every operational market cap milestone, Elon's stock won't be worth $1 trillion. It's going to be worth a lot more than that. Like if Tesla's doing $400 billion of EBITDA on a 12-month trail on a trailing basis, Tesla's not going to be worth 8.5 trillion. They're going to be worth a lot more than that. So it's going to be a crazy next decade or so. That's for sure.
How do you think all of Elon's companies kind of tie into each other? Because like you mentioned, multiple $100 billion plus companies, they all seem to have some common thematic of AI typically within them as we drive further here, specifically, XAI, Tesla, X tied in with XAI. And then you have, things are happening with Neuralink, which I assume utilize AI as well inside of there. So I'm just curious if that's only link or if you think that there's another link that ties everything together and how they support each other.
Yeah. I think Elon replied to me yesterday. He was like, somewhat quite surprisingly, a lot of my companies kind of seem to be converging. And I think there are a ton of synergies between XAI and Tesla specifically. I think ultimately it's going to make a lot of sense to bring those two companies together because XAI is going to want a lot of real world data and Optimus will be able to provide it. And, XAI is going to have a ton of GPU capacity in a way that Tesla just won't be able to do because, they have certain cash flow constraints right now. And so I think it's too early, I think, to combine the merge the companies, but I wouldn't be shocked if ultimately XAI and Tesla do combine. With SpaceX, obviously you're going to be putting a lot of Optimus robots on, the moon and Mars to be able to do certain tasks that humans, initially won't be able to do. It'd be too unsafe to send humans first. So you send Optimus robots. And then of course, the Cybertruck and stuff, they can operate on the moon and stuff because they don't need, with a gas car, you need oxygen flowing into the engine. With a battery operated car, you don't need that. And then Neuralink can sort of, I guess, connect into XAI because it's of the intelligence side of things. And yeah, there's just, and the Boring Company with the tunnels, they're already working with Tesla. They've just started testing FSD in the Boring Company tunnels in Vegas. And so there's so many synergies and cross-pollination between all of Elon's companies. I don't ever believe that Elon's going to like combine them all to create one like super mega corp or something. But I wouldn't be surprised if XAI and Tesla sort of come together over time. Elon did sort of talk about maybe taking SpaceX public last week at the earnings call, but I don't know. That seemed like, would it be chaotic? I mean, if SpaceX went public, that would be an instant $1 trillion plus company, I think. That would be a crazy IPO, but I think Elon's going to want to keep that private for as long as possible, at least.
What about XAI with hearing about OpenAI targeting $1 trillion IPO?
I think he's going to want to keep XAI private. I don't think XAI has the revenue yet to warrant an IPO. I think Elon is just in full on growth and spending mode into a point that it doesn't make sense to IPO. Like you would have to do quarterly earnings for a company like that has such a long time horizon would be an absolute nightmare. Like that would suck. And same thing with SpaceX, honestly. Although SpaceX is better off financially right now. I think it's going to be at least a few years.
Got it. I want to circle back around for just a second to your account, which we talked about in the beginning. We've talked through a lot of different items in regards to Tesla. Just curious what the future goals are for this account. Like, do you think about that much kind of, or is it more so, hey, I'm just showing up here day to day, providing the information, providing the news, or is there things that you want to build and grow?
I've tried to expand it a little bit in terms of the content that I provide. Like right now I'm driving a Lucid Gravity and Lucid offered it to me for a week. So I figured why not? I'll do a car review. I don't do many of those.
Nice.
Obviously I flew down to Giga, Texas to do that car review. And so I'm trying to do a little bit more YouTube videos. I've started to record my FSD drives a little bit and upload them to YouTube. But overall, I just want to continue to provide value where I can for my followers and beyond. I think if I'm not providing value, obviously my numbers will go down. But so far that isn't happening. So that tells me I'm doing okay at least. But yeah, I just want to provide people. The whole goal of my account was to like provide a one-stop shop news feed for all things like Muskonomy and Tesla related, so people wouldn't feel the need to go elsewhere and look at all the news from different sources. They could just come to my page and be caught up in one single scroll. So I'm just going to continue to do that for now.
And I feel like you really try to keep it there for the most part. I know that you've been asked many times, I think, to go on TV. I've seen you go on at least once, but it's not something that you're like constantly doing. It seems like your preferred source is to share it through Twitter.
Yeah. I don't have a desire to be on TV or whatnot. I've obviously CNBC invited me a few times, but I don't really care about being on TV. So
yeah, well,
I will say,
yeah.
Shout out Brian Sullivan for bringing you on. He's good. I've enjoyed when he's on CNBC, and
Yeah, he's
Still
cool.
doing some stuff. 992,000 followers, getting very close to a million. So
Yeah.
congrats on that. That's one thing we're
I
excited
mean,
about.
the reach on X is insane, and obviously
Yeah.
Elon's retweets help, but even beyond that, it's like just in the last year, I've done I think of 2.5 billion impressions roughly, or something like that, and I only post an average of 12 times a day, just on the main feed. So that's not that much. So yeah, the
Especially
reach
if
is
you're
great.
looking at Evans.
But one thing I will say also is kind of a little bit of a litmus test of like, is this just like a thing that people are just following or enjoy, or do they really like you? Is when they follow you cross-platform, when you can just start up your YouTube channel and the last video is 19K views, and a lot of these ones are doing pretty good. I think, and you should honestly be throwing your face on these thumbnails, 200%.
Maybe.
But yeah, people like enjoy your content or are willing to follow you across platform, which only happens when they're getting immense amounts of value, when they really value the person as well. So I think that I don't know if you know that, like went into it knowing this, but there is kind of this change going on in journalism of people, instead of going from media organizations wanting to get their news from people, independent kind of creators and stuff like that. And you've kind of put yourself in that space. Is that anything you thought of going into this, or is that kind of just been an added benefit?
I started this just simply as a fan, sharing. I was just passionate about the company and the news, and
Why
so
news though?
well, that was the only way to sort of tell people what was going on with the company. Hey, the news, this has happened. And if I was one of the first to report it, it's sort of labeled as news because it's new information. Yeah, I think people
What's
just
your
wanted.
goal? Is your goal to be first? Is your goal to give a little bit like more information and stuff? There's obviously like those headline guys, and there's people who come in and then add a little bit more. You've also posted your link every single time, which everybody will have told you that's not good for the algorithm, but you continue to do it. I feel like it's because you want people to know the real information as opposed to being
I can't
first.
tell you how many people like will post the news and they
Yeah.
won't post the source. I'm like, well, where'd you get this info? So I'm not saying I'm perfect. Sometimes I forget, but oftentimes under my post, you'll see source and then I'll link to it. And people think that the story's reach, and I don't know, maybe it does. If it does, whatever, I'm going to keep doing it. Sorry, what was the first part of your question?
I don't even know at this point. I just kind of continue going on.
Well, I was going to say, by the way, for the TV thing, I thought it was funny. So I was making thumbnails for this prior. So I was searching up for your face. And when you search your name, there are a few shots from CNBC, but it's like your face and like a Tesla chart going down. And it says Evie Winter of Discontent.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, I would go back and forth with the CNBC producers before I would go on. And I would try to like tell them like, look, guys, don't be like super negative about this. Be fair. But I mean, look, I don't try to be. My goal is not to be first with
Yeah.
any news at all costs. A lot of people assume, well, he got this, he just wanted to put it out quickly, so he got it wrong. If I get something wrong, it's by mistake. It's not on purpose. And if I get something wrong, I'll go back and correct it, or say, sorry, I got this wrong. I'll do better. I try to be quick, but I also try to be accurate, and I try to be accurate as possible. Obviously, when you have like 1 million followers, there is a level of responsibility to be correct on the information that you provide. And so I try to do that the best that I can. That does not mean I'm going to be perfect every time. I do make mistakes. I'm certainly human. But I think my hit rate, if you look at sort of what's accurate and what isn't, the accuracy rate is very, very good.
Are you worried? Are you worried about AI at all? There's a little bit in the back of me is like, am I going to get got by seeing a video and posting it by accident or something?
No, I'm not worried about AI, but I will say my job is perfect for AI to take over. So I'm fully prepared that one day AI will do my job better than me.
But here's my thought. Go. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask if you guys saw the Bill Ackman post where he posted a
He
30-minute video of
he
Elon that was
said-
clearly AI, that said in the description that it was AI, and he's like, I cannot tell if this is AI.
Dude, I'm so worried about the 2028 election. Like the deep fakes are going to be so good at that point that they'll be indistinguishable from reality. I'm
But
so
that's
worried
my
about
kind
that.
of question. Does that make your job easily takeawayable, or does it make it more important? Because we don't know if we can trust the information. So it's about trusting people who are giving it to you and going into it, and your job is more important than ever.
Part of the reason I've wanted to put my face out there more is because so people know I'm real. and that there is a level of authenticity there. I think a lot of people hide behind anonymous accounts, and especially if you're like a news account, you don't really know who's running the account most of the time. And so you're like, well, is this person real? I've never heard them talk before, you know? And so I always feel like put your face out there, put your real name out there, and then your reputation's on the line. If you're behind a fake name and an anonymous account, you could just say whatever and there's no consequences for you personally.
I can't think of anyone who runs a news account that's anonymous.
Yeah, but Evans put his name out there. And even
I
his
try
face.
to, yeah. No, listen, he's not. You're not wrong though, and I genuinely think that is like I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I definitely think there is an equal chance world where it becomes a more important thing going forward. What you've built so far, as opposed to less, you know, and it's just and the job switches from getting news out there to verifying all the news that you get out there is 100% accurate.
All right. Before we wrap up, speaking of people being replaced, I want to play a quick game with you. So there's two thumbnails that were created for this. One of them was made by me, and one of them was made by a actual thumbnail editor. And I'm going to show you
I have some rapid fire too, by the way.
and
I want to do it.
ask you which one you like better and which one you think was me.
Okay.
So, all right.
Wait, so you made one of these, you said?
I made one of these.
Okay.
I made one of these. All right. First thumbnail for this on the screen. There we go. Get a good look. How we liking? Pretty good?
It's decent.
There we go. Solid. All right. Second thumbnail. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right.
Part of me wants to say that's the one that you made because it's more simple, but I feel like it might be the other one.
See? You can't even tell.
I don't know. I'm going to say you made this one.
Nope. Oh, there you go.
All right,
look
so
at
I
that.
was right originally.
Yeah. Made him second guess. Yeah, mine was the other one. But apparently simplicity
Simpler is better.
Yeah. Where did that photo come from? Like, did you just scrape it off a video?
It's not the best photo. And we probably have a good photo we could have gone and used, but we'll do it for the video, not for the live stream.
It's not a bad photo. It's very, very.
No, I'm just saying. I was curious where it was from.
Oh, great question. I'll ask the thumbnail editor. He made that one. I found one of you. Oh, this was funny. I grabbed one of you just off of basically your profile picture, and removed the background and added it. But then I asked Canva. I was like, "Can you sharpen this image?" And it does a thing where it sharpens, but it looks so AI and just so
it does. It softens it too much.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's not him anymore. But yeah, super fun. Appreciate you coming on and spending a bunch of time here. Evan, do you have any other thoughts or questions?
Can I do some rapid fire stuff? Like maybe like quick answers, yes, no?
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes till the Tesla space. Rapid fire.
Cool. We can go through. We can maybe extend that out a little bit. 13,000 YouTube subscribers, 992,000 X followers. I am going to hold you to this. We're going to do another talk at some point. I'll remember this clip. This time next year, how many do you want to have? You don't have to do both. Give me a number on but one of them.
Followers?
Yeah.
Or subscribers.
Or YouTube subscribers. You're at 13,000 on YouTube right now. You're at 992,000.
I mean, once you hit 1 million followers, I'm like, you need more than that. Like, I guess the next milestone would be 10 million, but I don't really care how many followers I have after that. But I guess you want to continue growing, so I'll say 1.2 million next year.
0.2. All right, I think 1.35. I saw on the timeline. Gav saw on the timeline and told me. I know Chef Sawyer. What's your best meal that you can cook? What's the go-to?
Chicken fricassee, a French dish.
I want to give a reference point for everybody that's watching.
It's just my wife took the worst photo of that.
It
just looks like vomit.
Honestly, I commented on this somewhere. I don't know where my comment is. It's not showing it, but
Are you gonna roast it in the comments?
Look, as gross as that looks, it was fire. It
looks good.
It
It looks good.
No, I think that looks good.
Are those all your rapid fire questions, Evan?
No.
Just food and followers.
There is another one. What do you call it? Soda, pop, and then what's your favorite drink?
Soda and Sprite.
It's a good choice.
The crispness of Sprite is just so refreshing.
The McDonald's Sprite.
I graduated from Sprite recently. What do you call it? Twitter or X? Actually,
X. But if it's like an older person, I'll just say Twitter because they have no clue what X is.
I'm curious on there's a lot of new type of technology in Tesla. I wonder what technology that they don't really cover that you're interested in is like nuclear, is eVTOL, is there any other stuff that you just get excited
Yeah,
covering?
eVTOLs or like electric planes would be sweet, and electric boats. I would love for them to get into that, but I know it's like not a huge market for them. It would be kind of a waste of time. And there's other companies doing it really well. But those are the two areas I feel like would be so cool.
So I know you said you got a was it a Rivian or a Lucid that was sent to you?
Lucid Gravity, yep.
Okay, so what if Joby sends you like aviation to test out? You gonna do a little review
No,
video?
I don't know. I kind of like my life. I don't want to like crash in one of those things.
All right, eVTOL review
Maybe
coming
one
later
day,
on.
but we'll see.
Dream interview. You got any dream interviews?
I mean, Elon, come on now. I haven't
Elon.
met
Okay.
Elon yet. I still one day I
That's
think I'll meet
crazy.
him, but I haven't met him yet.
How close have
Sawyer
you
needs
been
to
to
meet
him?
Elon.
What's the closest that you've been to him?
I don't know, like a couple dozen feet. I was at the Cybertruck delivery event, and he was sort of right in front of me.
There you go. Yeah, I was like 20 feet behind him at a UFC fight where like him and Trump
Nice.
and the whole admin, but close, but no cigar. Sorry, Evan. Please continue.
Right, and last one. Shout out to partners up here.
Nice. Kalshi.
Palshi, when do you think Elon Musk will become a trillionaire? The literal betting markets are here, and it's over 50% for 2029. If you had to place a little bet in here, 2020 before, and so what it is before 2026. So it's 2025, 2026,
I
2027.
think
So
2028 probably. Obviously, it depends how Tesla stock does and if the Cybercab and Optimus do well. But keep in mind, SpaceX's valuation has been going up very quickly. And I think once Starship version 3 and Starlink version 3 both start getting out going next year, SpaceX's valuation could start skyrocketing towards $1 trillion. And Elon owns, I think, 42% of SpaceX, roughly. So, yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that his SpaceX right now, I think, is worth more than his Tesla currently, excluding the new pay packages and stuff. But yeah, they're sort of neck and neck. And obviously, XAI is, I think, a $200 billion valuation now, roughly, and Neuralink and Boring Company will continue going up. So, yeah, he's so many different value or wealth creation avenues.
and final question for me. What is something that you're excited about for 2026 for your specific Sawyer page? Whether it's a piece of content you're working on, or whether it's a big thing you're doing, or if there's something publicly you've made, what are you excited for going forward?
You know, it relates to Tesla in that this is going to be Tesla's biggest product launch year ever. They're going to launch Optimus. They're going to launch Cybercab. The Semi is finally going to enter volume production. The Mega Pack version 3, the Mega Block. You know, there's new residential solar panels. And so me personally, I'm just really excited to cover all that because we're sort of in a really transformative part of our lives. And a lot of these technologies that are about to come out, Cybercab and Optimus specifically, are going to really change the world as we know it. And so I'm really excited to sort of cover it, be a part of that into coverage and, you know, connect with the teams at Tesla and help share that story because I think a lot of people are still unaware how much the world is about to change.
Very cool. I love the message. I'm excited to see what comes next. There's a lot of good things that we covered here, but it feels like the journey's just getting started, wildly enough. We're going to be on one of these in a few years and we're going to have, an Optimus bot on and he'll just be like communicating, right? He'll be co-hosting, helping do the editing, right? There's all these cool things that are coming. You've really, I think, shown a lot of people an ability to be consistently confident and build conviction inside of this company. And I think there are people that, Tesla's tough. It can shake you out. But if you have the information, you're a lot more likely to stay within it. So what would be your final message to your followers and Tesla investors before we sign off here?
I guess I would just continue to say, Elon might miss on timelines, but I think he eventually delivers. And we're about to see multiple products that have always had some sort of, well, we're going to start production next year, but are finally going to start production. And three major products that are going to push Tesla to, I think, a multi-trillion-dollar company. And even like the Tesla Semi product isn't a huge product in terms of revenue. That's probably going to do like $10 billion a year in revenue, roughly. But it is really going to change the trucking industry forever, I think, for the better. And so I think just, look forward to all that. And don't try to be too worried about the stock price. It'll do what it does. It goes up, it goes down. It's never predictable, but just buy and hold. You know, I've been all in now for, God, 7.5 years now. So that's a long time. That's 7 years all in on Tesla stock is like 20 years with any other stock. It's draining. It's exhausting, but you know, it hardens you up and it prepares you for pretty much anything. So
Yeah, it's like Interstellar. 5 minutes here is 5 years on Earth.
Yep.
Really fun. Enjoyed the conversation. Now we're going to jump here to the Tesla space that we'll be hosting. But thank you again for coming on. This was awesome. I learned a little bit more of your background and some of the pieces, your goals. Excited to keep doing these. Encourage everybody, if you're not already following, you have to be within the next 8,000 followers if you want to follow him before 1 million. So that's your claim to fame. Be there.
Who's going to be
before
the millionth follower?
Yes, who will be the millionth follower? You could do a Mr. Beast giveaway, giving away, 1 million words of thanks to my millionth follower.
Actually, one thing I do for my subscribers is do occasional giveaways. That's one thing I try to thank them with. So subscribe if you like giveaways, I guess.
Subscribe if you like giveaways. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Sawyer, for being on. Thank you, Evan, for co-hosting this with me. This was an awesome hour.